Hello and welcome once again to Super Connectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, all live with my internet best friend.
Apple juice. No, Phil Parrott.
Actually, we have Wild Cherry High C today. I was thinking about what flavor to get the kids, and I think, the kids love wild cherry Slurpees. I'm gonna get the wild cherry. Nobody likes the wild cherry.
Oh.
They like the pink lemonade. Kids today never know what they're gonna like.
And
flavored drinks. Oh man, sorry. So super connections. Let's see here. Let's actually. We had an interesting storyline in Avengers this week.
Mm-hmm.
Whole thing about Counter-Earth, and I found it interesting because you have the young heroes, your champions, who are basically saying it's physically impossible for there to be a Counter-Earth. The gravitational effect of a Counter-Earth would affect every other planet, and Spider-Man's like, dude, it's there. I've been there several times. It's the whole thing. And so they send a satellite to the other side of the sun, and lo and behold, no Counter-Earth. But then a spatial rift erupts, and out flies a meteor. Reading this is, first off, okay, Counter-Earth is there. We've been there recently. And why is that the weird thing for people to deal with? Why is it there could not possibly be a Counter-Earth because of X Factor when it's nothing compensating for that X Factor? I don't know why that's a thing to cause a rift between the young heroes and the old heroes. Again, especially because it's an established thing. Do the young heroes just always think the old heroes are sending them on snipe hunts? Sure, there's a whole other planet on the other side of the Earth.
Is it just being, a young kid? It's just oh, you old people, you just believe everything you're spoon-fed. You need to question everything.
Yeah, but like I said, Counter-Earth does exist. So,
yeah.
You were talking about the boxes with heads, but these aren't real traditional boxes with heads. You noticed that, right, Phil?
What?
The boxes with heads. This has got a little carrot in it. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not doing it for me, man. Seems like a cheap marketing ploy. But yeah. And then we get the flashback to the founding of the Avengers. We don't get Valerie Vector in it, who is our Voyager. So we do have the Wasp is in it with the Ant-Man, which is our traditional Avengers origin. Valerie Vector, that is the big mystery coming up. She's the new founding member of the Avengers.
Voyager. Now, the name Valerie Vector. Now, obviously, someone has suggested that the Voyager is probably Victoria Richards. And the name Valerie Vector, because, of course, named after her uncle Victor, might lend some credence to that. Lots of V's in that name.
I think that's a little too on the nose, though. That's me. I just don't want her to be Valeria.
Yeah, I thought it was Kobik, but supposedly, I'm sure they could lie, but I thought someone at Marvel, one of the higher ups said, no, it's not Kobik, so.
Well, no, it's not Kobik. It's Frank from Bayonne. Or possibly the Sentry, who was the other person who had that power to go back and ingratiate themselves into other people's origin stories.
She is wearing a yellow costume.
What is the Sentry? We don't know.
What century is this?
Yes, the Sentry. It was interesting because they actually, in the later Dark Avengers series, they tied the Void to the Angel of Death. And just at this time, there are wars in heaven going on in Spirits of Vengeance. So, who knows? That could be a tie-in. You read Spirits of Vengeance?
Yes, sir. I got it.
Yes. We got a silver bullet. That's our definite issue.
and cursed with slothfulness. I guess that's his thing.
Yeah, that guy with his the skin's
Well, he's obviously super big and got a bucket next to him, and that is his punishment for deserting during the war between heaven and heck. Bum bum bum. And then we got your beings on the outside of stuff. There's something, and then they go to the Angel Club, and all the angels are trying to get away because they say you gotta hide from the war, and the old lady angel says there's nowhere you can really hide, which is fair enough. Yes, and then so we've got the Spirits of Vengeance. Although it's weird because they're I don't really see how any of these guys really are on the side of heaven. It's these are all people closely associated with hell or hellishness in some way. Blade is he's got that vampire thing going on. Damon and Satana, the Hellstrom twins, the Hellstorm. No, look at that. I call it Hellstorm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think his last name is Hellstrom, but I think his superhero name is Hellstorm.
Oh,
I think that's how it works. Yeah, real creative. He switches 2 letters around, but yeah,
that's silly. That is just silly.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, it's.
But
I don't know. Maybe they're
Hellstorm sounds cooler than Hellstrom.
I think Marvel's trying to Berenstain Bear us. Just branding. Try to confuse us about what really is or is not.
Branding Charlie
with Damien, because he actually predates Damien from the one thing. Yeah, 1 second, my wife's calling.
No, dear.
Yes. Hey, hon, what's up?
Yes, I said hell. No, it's just on the podcast.
Oh, well.
I'm not drinking apple juice, dear.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Oh. See you, bye. Okay. Sorry, my wife was complaining about the bus driver.
That's okay.
Yeah, I know, real professional here. Interrupt the whole show. But, someone calls, I'd like to answer the phone because I always figure if someone's actually calling me, it's probably because it's important.
Telemarketer.
Like that. Hey, I'm trying to get a new job, and I got to answer these calls. Please, I've been wanting to get a new job for a while.
Oh, is that why you're answering the phone? Hello, Charlie Esser, male model.
Yes, well, Oh, I am a model in that. I am not quite the real thing.
Hey, once again, first thing this morning, Lilith said you're the prettiest member of Capes and Lunatics.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
$1.
Yeah, I'll take that. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm you know what it is? I talk so much because I want to save all my Inhuman complaints for the Inhuman thing.
Yeah.
And I really have been focusing on Inhumans.
4 p.m. Eastern.
Have you watched Rick and Morty yet?
No.
Can't really discuss Rick and Morty.
Time.
I know, man. Well, the last episode was really, really interesting. Spoil it for you, so I won't talk about it. But yeah, it's it's an interesting, for a show about nihilism. I think it actually comes to what I think is the ultimate truth of nihilism, which means that everything is meaningless, including yourself, unless you give yourself meaning. The only way to give yourself meaning is to have human attachments. So that's the little philosophical jujitsu move you see at the very end of the season, I think. But that's my take on the story. I don't know. Gifted, so I can't talk about Gifted. I do know Stan Lee has a cameo in it, so that's good. I don't know what his cameo is.
I'll have to go back. I don't remember Stan Lee in there.
I think it might just be a street scene. I don't know.
I was going to say, it couldn't have been that big.
But, yeah. Yeah. I just saw that on CBR, how Stan Lee's cameo came to pass. Stan Lee Gifted. I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, basically, evil organization hunting down mutants. And the I can't remember if they work for the government or if they're their own thing, but the group hunting down mutants. What is it? It's like Sentinel Enterprises. It's something Sentinel.
Sentinel Enterprises.
Something like
well, at least they're subtle.
Yeah.
Are they related to the Trask organization or?
Well, I don't think they haven't said yet. Well, Stephen Moyer is like one of the big guys in the organization, but then like his kids turn out to be mutants, so they come to his door, and it's like, well, it affects my family, so now it's wrong, you know?
Yes. Well, that's usually how it goes. Now, he's the Strucker, right?
Yes.
Have they hinted at any Nazi associations with the Struckers?
That's what I'm saying. Does MCU have Baron Strucker, so he's just, Mr. Strucker?
Well, actually, that's Von Strucker, whereas here, he's not a Von.
Ah.
So, I don't know. And, they're doing the Fenris twins, who are actually villains in the Marvel Universe, so I don't know why they're making them the hero.
And don't they have, like, energy blast powers, like, when they touch or something like that? Yeah, they don't have that here. Like, the boy seems to have, like...
Yeah.
Right now, he doesn't have control. It's like when he gets upset, like, everything starts shaking and, like, stuff... the building starts falling apart. The girl has, like... She has, like, these force fields. She can almost do, like, a Sue Storm thing, or Sue Richards thing, but you can actually, like, see it. It looks like her force fields look like bubble wrap.
So they're like... Richter and Skids, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe. But yeah, she can make force fields that look like bubble wrap.
Yeah. Makes a force field that looks like bubble wrap. That's...
It's all these, like, little circle,
Yeah. Okay. So she's like Speedball, that kinetic energy balls, he's going to be in that show, right? Speedball's in the New Warriors one, right?
I believe so, yeah. When does that start? Did they ever set a date for that?
I don't know. I'm still waiting to find out when Cloak and Dagger premieres.
Oh, yeah, that too.
I think we've got like this glut of shows, and I get the worry that some of them are kind of like Marvel's Most Wanted or Krypton,
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, I know, we're doing it. We're totally doing it. And I was like, maybe we're not doing it now. It's like, man,
I'm looking stuff
really?
Up now. Right now, Cloak and Dagger's just saying 2018. It doesn't have a specific date.
Just like Krypton.
Oh no, that's a really waiting for that 5 or 6 years.
But they did it. Well, no, I guess they've had. No, have they done a trailer for Krypton, or is it just teasers?
I think
they did a trailer for Cloak and Dagger. They actually have a Cloak and a Dagger cast.
I think Tyler said there was a trailer, but it said something like spring 2017.
Yeah, but what was it? Was it actually like actor, Dash Riprock as Kal-El's grandfather?
I don't know. I didn't see it. Oh, New Warriors is also just saying 2018.
Yeah, I wonder about these things. I think that there's a lot of promises being made and a lot of worries. Although one thing I'll say, because I was watching Gotham and they have all the trailer. They keep on teasing The Gifted during Gotham, obviously, because they figure, hey, you're a nerd, maybe you'd like this nerdy thing too.
Well, and like two of the actresses who were in there appeared on Gotham before too.
Oh, okay.
The Strucker daughter. Do you remember Silver St. Cloud from Gotham?
Oh,
she's the daughter.
Vaguely.
She's the Strucker daughter.
Okay.
And the Valerie Vale from last season. Jim's girlfriend for a while last season.
Okay.
She plays who is it? Blink, one of the mutants.
Okay. Very cool. Valerie Vale. I guess that's supposed to be Vicky Vale's older sister.
And who knows? I don't think they ever said how she.
She's just maybe another one of the Vales, Could be Vicky Vale's mom.
The whole family loves the report.
Yeah, well,
Could be one of those things. My aunt inspired me. It's gonna be a Sharon Carter thing. My aunt inspired me to follow her in her line of work.
Yeah, should have left her as her sister. It was a better story as her sister.
Yeah, but I mean, as when Peggy Carter stays anchored in that World War II era, you're sliding time theory. Oh, my sister was in World War II and I'm around in 2017.
And what's weird about that is that means if you're doing the sliding time idea, it means that people are getting pulled away from each other.
Yeah.
In one time, then they get pulled further up.
In another decade, Charlie, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, my grandma Peggy.
Yeah, And that's another thing, is I always wondered why they didn't do that. Why they didn't go Grandma Peggy instead of Aunt Peggy. Because actually in the Peggy Carter in the MCU, she is actually married with kids, apparently. There is a little Carter running around there somewhere. Seems to be. I think she said she was married. I know she said she was married, and I think they had kids. I think there was some mention of, at least I think there was a kid in one of the photos, or maybe that was just little. And who is Peggy Carter's? I guess Peggy Carter had a younger brother after her brother died in the war. That makes sense.
I mean,
these timelines get crazy.
Yeah, but does it ever bother you that like Steve Rogers comes out of his frozen stasis out when the Avengers find him, and it's just like, oh hey, I love this girl in World War II. Hey, here's the newer model. Let me let's just jump into.
Well, okay, let's slow our roll on this a bit, because this is like
I know he's a man out of time, but I mean, if he wants to date a younger woman, that's fine. But do you have to date the sister?
Well, originally he didn't know that, and the idea was they did keep this in the story.
Yeah, is
he didn't know it was his aunt.
Yeah, true.
In fact, actually, when we get to that scene in Civil War, even he's like kind of surprised to see Sharon Carter up there, and they go, "Yeah, it was my aunt. We didn't tell you because you're stupid, and we thought it would freak you out." Right, man. Poor Steve. He's just getting emotionally manipulated by these people left and right. All these spies,
Yeah, I know, but
these spies, they're not people you can trust.
I mean, in the movies, they don't look that much alike. In the comics, like originally, wasn't he attracted to Sharon because he was like, boy, she bears a really good resemblance?
No. I don't think so. Because originally, and for what it's worth, the original Peggy Carter story was just this woman that he barely met.
Yeah.
During the war,
two ships in the night. Yeah.
Exactly that kind of thing, And then he meets Sharon Carter in Shield, and they both are Agent 13, which is kind of weird. If I recall correctly, I think Sharon Carter comes in as Agent 13 too. Mm-hmm. But of course, Peggy Carter herself is a retcon because, of course, it's supposed to be Betsy Ross, his original girlfriend in World War II, was the attaché, and that's the character I wish they'd do more with. Like I said, I was hoping that if they ever did another season of Peggy Carter, she could actually meet Betsy Ross and find out that Steve Rogers actually had a life before he went to war. Interesting thing, just to find out that things she thought about who Steve Rogers weren't true. That, after the whole thing, when he's out here training and doing the shows, that, he's got to have handlers. And maybe one of them was Betsy Ross, and maybe he does a little spy work on the side before he gets into the war. I mean, that would be a cool story to put into that.
Oh, yeah.
Did your internet? Okay, there you go. Okay, you're doing a little Max Headroom on me there, Phil. But, they didn't do that. They went with that. I think, I think sometimes people think that fans are dumber than they are, and they won't think, how can they, they won't understand what you're doing. It's like, no, they could. Although what I think is also interesting about what David Walker said is that now they're doing that with Miles Morales. Like, no, there actually is a Miles Morales on this unit, on the 616. And so now there's two Miles Moraleses, but they're different people, And that's what happens. My biggest question, and that's one question I didn't ask, although I don't know if David actually had an answer for that, was how Raymond Kane's money came to the 616.
Yeah.
Because they do make mention, the first issue of Nighthawk, that and he's appeared overnight, and already a billionaire.
I always think it's like DC did with Crisis on Infinite Earths. They basically they mash two or more universes together, and some people's history gets interwoven into this new reality, and He could have came as a billionaire. He could have came as a homeless guy. You know, you never know.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, well, I always like the idea that you almost have that Ozymandias idea of, where, the Ozymandias origin, where he like gets rid of his wealth just to prove that he could make his own wealth again. Alan Moore is such a hack writer.
At Charlie Esser on Twitter.
Yeah, he is. He is.
I just need a button for that. At Charlie Esser on Twitter.
Yes, it's CHA. You should have enough footage of it, man. Just
Rob, I need that. Him singing it.
Oh goodness, but yeah. So yeah. But Alan Moore, he is a hack writer. Yeah, he got lucky. He got popular, but I don't know. I don't know if any of his creations are that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. That could also be sour grapes on my part, but like I say, that's me. He wasn't even the first guy to do BDSM in a book. That was Claremont and Byrne with Dark Phoenix Saga.
That wasn't wasn't the first. Was his name William Moulton Marshall, or the guy?
Oh well, yeah. But that wasn't like overt BDSM. That was.
Yeah, wasn't Wonder Woman getting tied up like every year?
Yeah. But the sexual qualities of it were all Marston's. It wasn't storyline sexual gratification. And whereas Claremont and Byrne just totally one of them totally got into it. I don't know which one. Byrne always he talks up that wasn't his was there to contribute, but
meanwhile he's the one
do his Dark Phoenix story with Sue Storm. He certainly did not shy away from so am I frozen or are you, Phil? Okay, there you go.
There.
Was I frozen or were you? I don't know.
I don't know. You were kind of cutting in and out, but Byrne. I mean, John Byrne tries to act like the innocent, but isn't he the one who? Yeah, he created Sue Storm as Malice and that BDSM costume and the She-Hulk. Was there an issue of Fantastic Four where She-Hulk someone got naked pictures of the She-Hulk?
Yeah, that was actually just before the Malice issue. Interestingly enough, as I recall correctly. Yeah, well, what it is, she's nude, sunbathing on top of the Baxter Building, and the paparazzi comes in a helicopter to take the nude pictures. The joke is that they forgot to color it green. Because I guess they were black and white photos, and so it just looks like.
Whoever developed them thought there was a problem with the film, and it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, took out the green. And Johnny Storm's like, oh yeah.
Johnny Storm. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah.
But hey, speaking of Johnny Storm, are you excited for the Marvel 2-in-1 book?
Yeah, I actually am. It's got Ben Grimm. And that's always a selling point to me. Although it didn't get me to buy the Guardians of the Galaxy as much as I wanted to, but I did read it for a few. It had Ben Grimm and Venom for a while there.
Yeah.
That was a really good book, but you can only you can only get you in the door with a character. You really got to have a story that captures my interest.
Yeah, I mean Ben Grimm and Venom. You think that would be a big hit in the Esser household?
Yeah, well, you'd think. And
Bendis.
Yeah, I think that there's just, I think that it just got too distracted with other things, and and also there's just too many characters. You don't get enough time to focus on Ben Grimm or Venom.
Yeah.
Interesting characters to me isn't that it's a rock guy and a Venom. It's that Ben Grimm is this tragic hero, and Venom is, and then that one what's his name? Flash Thompson Venom. He's this guy who's got this huge amount of history in the Marvel Universe, and he's just wanted to be a hero, but didn't know how because he came from an abusive home and all that kind of stuff, but still was able to rise above his past and become a better man. And that's what's cool about Flash Thompson. He's a guy who's had these struggles and who didn't always land on his feet. In fact, wound up not having feet to land on.
But yeah, I mean Marvel 2-in-1. I mean, I get Ben Grimm, you get Johnny Storm, and since Franklin and Valeria are coming back, are they going to make up a new Fantastic Four until Reed and Sue come back? Because Valeria's not Voyager.
No, well, yeah, I just don't want her to be. I just. My thing with, first off, like I said, my thing with Valerie is she's just Franklin's imaginary sister. He willed her into existence. She doesn't exist except that Franklin wanted his sister.
She was real until the miscarriage, who contributed to that? Otto Octavius. Thank you very much.
No, Otto tried to save her.
Yeah,
they wanted Otto to save her.
After Reed talked him into it, after Otto went after Reed for a while, saying, "You're all laughing at me."
Yes. Well, but the fact of the matter is, had Reed approached him from the start with hat in hand and humble, Otto would have said, of course. He would have said, I need the greatest mind in radiation, not David Banner, Otto Octavius. Yeah, hey, that's an interesting. I'm sure Banner was sitting there going, really? You pick Otto over me?
Wasn't Banner there at the hospital? Because I'm trying to remember, didn't Banner say, yeah, if you want the number one guy in radiation, it's Octavius. And
okay, well, there we go.
I think wasn't it Reed, Banner, and wasn't it, what's his face, Sasquatch? And they're like, oh, yeah, you want Otto Octavius, but he's loony as a, cockatoo or something.
Yeah, entirely possible. It's been a long time since I read that, but yes. But yeah, so there we go. So everyone agrees when it comes to radiation, freak superhero radiation. It's not like it's just regular radiation. This is like all cosmic radiation and gamma radiation. And yeah, so that's what he did. Surprising that there are no superheroes that were ever got their powers through X radiation, because that seems like a gimme commonplace at the time.
What, X-ray?
You get so much X radiation, yeah,
Hey,
but no, think about it.
What's his face from the UFOs got what, X-ray powers or?
Well, he calls himself X-rays, but his powers were from cosmic radiation.
Yeah,
UFOs all got their powers. They're all meant to be variations on the Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
Because except, and this is that Vector has the Invisible Girl powers because he has that repulsive force, which is the force fields. And then Vapor is sort of like Mr. Fantastic in that her molecules are no longer cohesive.
I was going to say, but Ironclad is definitely their thing.
Well, yeah, obviously. And of course, X-Ray is Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
And of course they're all, the actual origin of the UFO is very cool because it totally plays the original, the FF #1 where, where John Steele, who's Ironclad, is like, I'm telling you, it's crazy what we're going to do. And then Vapor goes, oh, gee, I didn't know you were a coward. So what, you're calling me a coward? I'll fly that ship for you.
You dame, I'll fly that ship.
Yeah, it was. Sue Storm caused so many problems for that family. No, because you really think about it, the whole reason Ben went up there was because Sue goaded him into it.
I didn't think you were
Ben was like the one guy being rational and honest, saying we don't know enough about cosmic rays. We shouldn't be going up here. And Reed's like, oh, I know what I did. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And Stu's like, well, gee, Ben, I didn't know you were a coward.
Well, Reed,
afraid of a few cosmic rays. Gee.
Well, Ritsu and Ben should all be in jail for taking a 16-year-old, breaking in.
He insisted. He's 16.
It's not the age of consent. His opinion doesn't matter at that point.
Well, he may have been emancipated. And actually, probably Sue was his guardian.
I was going to say Sue was his guardian, but...
Yeah, most likely Sue was his guardian. So, yeah. You break it down like that, and yeah, it actually makes perfect sense. No laws were broken. Or you could have said Sue just was being a bad mom, being an Alfred-level mom by having Johnny Storm come along on the experimental rocket ship.
Just because she's his guardian doesn't mean it's legal. I mean, you could strap your kids to the top of your car and drive down the street. That don't mean it's legal, Charlie, even though they're your kids.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah, so... Yeah, but I was thinking, Fox is in a pretty good spot because Fox is like the only channel that has both Marvel and DC and their own stuff. Because they have their Fox, they have their X stuff on their universe now. They have Lucifer, and then they have Gotham, and then whatever else they want, and they have the Orville, which gets you all your Trek fans. Fox is actually in a pretty good spot that if they actually wanted to do a streaming service, they could actually probably pull it off.
I have to admit, I heard about when I originally heard about the Orville, I was like, oh, it's gonna be another power list, but the Orville is great.
The Orville is fantastic. I love the Orville. It's probably one of my favorite shows right now. I will say, for shows on right now, I'll say it is my favorite show on right now. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't back yet, and Inhumans is awful. So, so no, I love the Orville. The Orville is fantastic. It is just a great show, and
Did you see this week's episode yet? Oh yeah, you did. You were live tweeting. That's right, at Charlie Hesser.
Yeah. What was what the plot was? What was
what's her face? The time traveler from the future. Spoilers.
Oh yeah. That was the old Matt Frewer shtick.
Yeah.
Yes. Because Matt Frewer did that on the original series, except he was actually from the past. But a guy came in a spaceship from the future and he bonked him on the head. And then, for some reason, rather than try to reverse engineer the sci-fi tech he has in the time machine, he says, "No, I'll just go 200 years into the future. Say I'm from the future that this guy was from, and I'll steal a bunch of."
Well, he got greedy. He got greedy. He wanted more tech.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe that's why he went to the Enterprise, because he just said these guys are the biggest rubes. These guys are, if I go to DS9, through my shtick, I go and Kirk's been mud for years. He's not going to fall for it. This Picard guy, he'll fall for it.
Hey, he was trying to hit on Dr. Crusher. Hey.
Yeah, well,
even though
Dr. Beverly.
Even though, like she said, I could be your great granddaughter, but hey.
Yes. Or grandmother in that case.
Grandmother, well, yeah, she thought he was from.
Because she thought it was in the future, but actually. But hey, Matt Frewer. Yeah.
But the Orville's great, man. I'm like, hey, man, I've always wanted to be on Star Trek too. We need to start our own show. Yeah.
Well, and like I said, I think that it is very much, like I said, to me, what makes the Orville great, and I tweeted this, was that what makes the Orville great is that there's not a scene in the Orville that you could not drop into an actual Trek episode and have it look out of place. Yeah. Even when they're watching Seinfeld.
Yes. What are they, capes and lunatics? Yeah.
The junior mints. Would you like a junior mint?
I don't understand.
And that, because it's a great little bit of a lampshade that pop culture seems to always stop in the future. Like no one ever remembers. Oh man, remember the great sitcom from 2 years in the future?
Remember when we liked to laugh?
Yeah. When it's weird that it's like always always something from the mid to late 20th century, early 21st century. Now I guess we can do some stuff, but even so with Seinfeld, it's mid to late 20th century. That was the peak of human culture. Everything after that was just no one even talked about it in the future.
Yeah, well, I mean, in that Star Trek feature, I guess at a certain point the only ones making sitcoms are Ferengi.
I would love to see some Ferengi sitcoms.
And are they even making sitcoms? I mean, it's the Ferengi. I mean, you're probably getting stuff like The Wolf of Wall Street or something.
No, Ferengi make all kinds of. Heck, if there's money in it, they'll make it.
Well, I know they had I know on DS9, Quark had those holo suites, but I mean, was they actually coming up with original programming?
Well, of course, yeah. No, all holo suites had original programming. That was like one of the things when Nog wants to join Starfleet, and Quark is trying to talk him out of it because he really feels Starfleet is bad. It's a bad place for Ferengi, and for what it's worth, there actually is a lot of racism among humans. So yeah, you don't want to be the first Ferengi in Starfleet kid, is what he was trying to tell his son or his nephew. But but he makes the point that you should be like Jake. Jake's not going into Starfleet. He's finding a lucrative career, and he says Jake's a writer. There's no money in being a writer. There is if you write a holosuite program. Let's tell you what, I'm going to front you. I'm going to produce your first holosuite, and we'll make you guys. You guys can be writers and do that. So no, there is pop culture being created in the future. Nostalgia for recent pop culture, except for the late 20th century. Possibly because you did have the eugenics wars. And it's possible it's remembering this time before the eugenics wars, before that basically, once you got to the, century, things just went right downhill and nobody wants to remember that anymore. Sometime around, I don't know, like 2016, 2017, things just really went off the rails. And then you had eugenics wars and Khan and
Trump,
all that stuff. So we just try to forget about that in the future, is I guess what they're saying. Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, because I know that, I do think the eugenics wars are supposed to be like mid 21st century. Yeah, no, I do think that is the case. Because they were all expecting World War III by that time. This was in the 60s. So when Khan first shows up, it is like it is like right about now, like 2040 or 2030, that the Botany Bay got sent out. So yeah, so it all fits in when you think about it like that. Like, oh no, things got really horrible. Nobody wants to remember that time, and they weren't making any sitcoms, and nobody was in that, and so really the only artifacts they would have were those late 20th century artifacts. You had records and tapes and jukeboxes and things like that were like these solid objects from that late 20th century. Early 21st century, it was all digital. That all got destroyed. So so all of that, you actually can headcanon this to make it actually make sense. The only problem is that then once after you have that Enterprise series, why is there no new pop culture? Why does no one say, oh, remember that holosuite, I guess, maybe holosuites are just too personal.
Yeah.
So everyone's
That's what I was thinking. Are the holosuites, aren't they tailored to each individual person? It's not like,
well, they have no, because you can have a program. Because you would see Bashir would always do, because he'd go be a spy in the 60s. Be a spy, that was his shtick. Him and O'Brien, and later they brought the Taylor into his name. The Cardassian Taylor, who was like, you really think this is what a spy does?
I mean, all those Star Trek characters were, obsessed with the past. I mean, Picard was Dixon Hill, and Bashir with the spy stuff, and then Tom Paris, Voyager, Captain Proton.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh yeah, Captain Proton. That was a good one. And again, because it was on solid film stock, it survived the eugenics wars. But yeah, so yeah, that nostalgia is a big thing for them, and that was the last time that humans had culture, I guess, is what we can say. And then after that, they start exploring the stars, and I guess they're just too dang uppity to create art anymore. I guess is what the moral of that story is.
I mean, not everyone was obsessed with pop culture. I mean, Captain Janeway hung out with Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah. A computer simulation of Leonardo da Vinci. She hung out with Leonardo da Vinci like I hang out with Leonardo da Vinci when I read Hickman's Shield comics, and Leonardo da Vinci's a character in it. It's like, things I was thinking. So, like, if you don't have these, since you're a character in it, probably everyone's experience is a little bit different. But you'd think you'd have fond memories of certain, like you'd have a Mario. But if you actually were Mario, your experience as Mario would be very different than my experiences as Mario. And so we wouldn't have that connection as Mario fans, that you have in that more passive pop cultural landscape. So really where people can have that connectivity as a society is on these older, less interactive forms of entertainment. And so when you want to share an entertainment with a friend, you have to go back to that. That's why there's still Shakespeare in the future, because it's just something we can all share. We don't actually have to personal narrative. We can have a shared narrative.
Sounds like a super.
And I think that's what people want.
Sounds like a super connection to me.
You know, I just wish there was more with comic books in the future.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know why?
What?
Comics all got wiped out.
Yeah, but they could go.
See?
Why? They could go all digital. Hey, write to Seth MacFarlane. Tell him to add some comics to the Orville.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, no, because the digital comics got wiped out when all of the early 21st century technology. So only the floppies would exist. And of course, they're printed on pulp paper, so they don't have a good staying power unless you have that super mylar bag, you know.
That darn eugenics war again. Jeez.
Those eugenicists, and you know those eugenicists were burning books. Although you'd think they would be all into superheroes because it's about, hey, genetic superiority.
The Superman.
Yeah. Although maybe they were like, oh, but this says that being super. Basically, because they're kind of the villains in the story, they probably didn't like that, you know. And it's like, why? They're saying anyone can be a superhero.
And the Superman of the comics, illegal immigrant.
Well, now actually, no, the eugenicists. This is what you'll say. They weren't racists. They were eugenicists. And there is a difference. Remember, his name is Nunyan Sun Khan, Ricardo Montalban. Yeah, this is before they hired a pasty British guy to play Khan for some reason.
Wait, Nunyan Sun Khan. So wait, he's
related to Data's creator.
Okay. I don't think I knew.
Yeah, that's actually a whole family thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, the Nunyans. Yeah, no, they're all related. They're all related.
See, this man teaches you something every week.
Yeah. In fact, I believe in Enterprise they actually had Brett Spiner come back as Nunyan Sun, and he was actually working with because he wanted to recreate the eugenics because he felt that there wasn't anything inherently wrong with eugenics, or not eugenic, but the making people stronger and better. It's just that basically Khan was just evil about it, you know. That the whole thing was that the problem was Khan, not the basic science, and so he was actually trying to make a better world. He actually did a thing because he was introducing to the Klingons, and that's how they got the whole thing with Klingons not having brow ridges. You know, there's a whole thing, and now they put the Klingons with brow ridges in the new one and completely undid their own thing. So it's like Star Trek, just try to be consistent with stuff, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I only watched that first episode, you know, the one that was on broadcast, you know, but that was my thing. I was like, yeah, the Klingons are all different. I'm like, is this, you know, like the Chris Pine rebooted universe, or I thought this was supposed to be the original universe, and it's just, I
don't even know if there is an original universe. Honestly, Star Trek does not take care of its canon.
No.
I'm just going to say it. They do not take care of their canon. This isn't Disney, where they understand there's a value to your canon. No, there is. Disney is very big on canon. That's why they were very big with Star Wars. They say, get your canon straight. You've got to have a unified canon because we're selling T-shirts here, you know? And, you know, we got to sell lightsabers, man. You got to know what these lightsabers are. You got to have it really. You got to be properly nerd vetted. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe that's the case.
And like I said, Discovery, I only watched the first episode, but I mean, it just seems like they're going down. I don't want to compare it to Enterprise, but it's like, I don't know, I kind of lose interest when the whole plot is like, oh, there's this evil, there's this alien race and they're doing some bad stuff. It's like, give me time anomalies, give me, what else? The weird stuff.
Yeah. Well, they really should be going, first off, anytime you create a big villain, because Star Trek was never, even Next Gen was never about a big villain. Even DS9, which had the Kardashians, it was never about like the war with Cardassia. It was about finding, it's about dealing with that other culture that you now have to deal with.
It's like
the Kardashians trying to find a way to get along.
when they try to cram too much politics into it, I'm just like, it's like they're explorers.
Well, yeah, and if you're on a ship, you should be exploring, and you should be going someplace new. And that was actually something when Next Gen came out. Was an older brother of mine was saying, "Man, why do they always want to go to another space station? Set a course for Space Station Alpha. It's like, they shouldn't be going to Space Station Alpha. They should be going away from Space Station Alpha."
I think that's part of the
reason. That's what they did with Voyager.
Well, that's part of the reason I love Voyager, because they're stuck in the Delta Quadrant. They don't have to put up with all that Starfleet crap and, we got to be diplomatic with this one and this one. Basically, the only diplomacy they practiced was like, hey, we need supplies. Let's not, let's not take off this race, so maybe we can get some supplies.
Well, yeah, that's what it came down to. It was pure business. And then they met the Ferengi.
Jesse's early.
Hey, I am a little bit early.
Hey, Jesse, we were just talking Star Trek.
Oh, perfect. I'd be glad to join in.
Okay, so have you seen the Orville yet?
I have, and should I give spoiler-free my thoughts?
No, spoil away. It's been out.
Yeah. No, what I mean is spoiler as in I like it a lot. I know there was a lot of hate at first, but I've heard other people it's not funny. Well, it's got enough humor in it, but I just think it's a really well done science fiction show. I mean, I like it a lot.
Do you need a joke every 2 seconds? I mean, people will be ripping on it for that. If you had a joke.
Exactly.
The problem is that there were people that came to it who were Seth MacFarlane fans.
Yes.
Who wanted to see, I guess it's going to be Family Guy in space. And it's like, no. He actually, the reason he's doing it, because he really wants to get away from Family Guy. He wants to show he can do more than that. Like he did with Ted to some extent, like he's done with other projects. He wants to be just the fart joke guy. He wants to be the guy who makes a really legitimate product, and I for one am glad that he's doing it. So we were talking about that, comparing it to Discovery, which I've actually not seen yet. And I understand it's now behind a paywall, and I'm not. I can't afford to go to the movies. I can't afford another pay service. Not for one show.
I will end up paying that. I do believe I will. Bad or not, I'm going to end up giving my money. But it is. I saw the first one online, the first one on CBS that was free. I liked it, but then I'm a Star Trek slut. Is that a close enough word? Almost anything Star Trek I'm going to love. I'm one of those guys that went and saw, Star Trek the movie, and you're like, don't say anything bad. Don't say anything bad. Trying to, because you love Star Trek so much, you don't want to necessarily make things bad, to talk about it. So, so I'm going to like this. I like Discovery. I think it's going to be okay, but I really love the Orville. Partly because, I'm a big Friday Night Lights fan. So Adrienne Palicki, her being in anything, I was ready to watch her in Wonder Woman. And I knew that would be horrible. The lady who plays the Doctor, I'm drawing blanks on name. She was great in 24, and she was great on Castle. So he's got a good cast around him, and they seem to be they're trying to tell good stories. And I thought the story with the two male parents and, thinking their child has a birth defect because she was born female was really well done. You could have played that for jokes. They didn't. It was an interesting story. They showed both sides of the story, and then they, I think, made a pretty interesting choice of, we're going to have this surgery, and move on. Yeah. And you have to love that. Watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer changed his mind. He's like, oh, I get it. If he had not had a red nose, Christmas would not have been saved. So Peter David has the complaint, and I think it's a fair one, but I kind of hand wave it. He said there's no way this far in the future that there would be that much awareness of our current pop culture. Like they wouldn't show a Seinfeld episode, but I'm like, hey, as you say, a hand wave because it's to our audience. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Actually, I just explained why that was. First off, the whole point of doing that is it's this big lampshading of the fact that is in every Star Trek.
Yeah.
Anything past late 20th century pop culture references.
Right.
It's like it's always late 20th. And so they're just sort of putting it out there front and center. And then I made this argument that basically X Wars happened in the early to mid 21st century. So like right about now is when the eugenics wars starts. This was a terrible disaster, wiped out a lot of human culture. What survived was this stuff from that late 20th century that had hard copy versions of it that you could carry forward, like the jukebox in First Contact. That he has all the music on. So those are the things that survived. That's why there is this reverence for that late 20th century culture, because that is to many people in that Star Trek universe time that humanity had that greatness in the past. Yeah. Then you go through the eugenics wars, which were pretty bad, and then you go right into meeting the Vulcans and going into space. For whatever reason, there's not a unified enough culture to have new pop cultural zeitgeist ideas.
Okay.
At that point, everyone's kind of too dispersed, and there's not like a central broadcasting thing where you have this late 20th century cache of pop culture that all humanity can share, and anything new, it might be big out on the outer, out in the outer colonies, but that may not get back to Earth. That's like foreign cartoon, and was like, oh, it's so huge in Luxembourg, and it's like, oh, okay, you don't live in Luxembourg, you've never seen it.
I think that's a valid point, Charlie, because you think about it now. With all the different channels, growing up like I did, I was born in 59. So, I graduated high school in 77. As a kid, there was only 3 channels, unless you count the little independent or PBS, but 3 major channels. And so we all knew pop, pop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. I can't believe I ate the meatballs, whatever the pop culture reference for commercials. And now then, these commercials are not thrown on to us all the time because many of us have a DVR and we skip the commercials, or the commercials are spread over the 99 channels that we have or more. I think of the teaser for in about 5 minutes, right? Springsteen's 57 channels and nothing's on. Well, little did he know it'd be, 457 channels and nothing's on. Yeah.
Yeah. And it leads to that diffusion of pop cultural items to the
Absolutely.
point where even now I think there's much less of a shared pop cultural universe. I mean, we don't notice it now because now we're all in our own little communities online, right. And so we all think everyone's watching the Orville. Yes, yeah.
Well, and we talk about a lot this on Set Lusting Bruce, because the podcast is not just about Bruce Springsteen, it's music in total. And, growing up with Top 40 radio, that was mostly on an AM channel or sometimes on an FM channel, there was American Top 40, the late, great Casey Kasem. There was this mixture and you all knew the hits. I have no idea what's on the pop charts now. Because I'm able to selectively pick what music I want. E Street Radio on Sirius XM or, a specific channel, or just on my phone. I can have hundreds of songs, if not thousands of songs. And I don't have to go out and just turn on the radio and listen to whatever they give me. And that's good, but also in a little ways, a little sad.
Well, that's what I've been talking about lately. It's like, just like pop culture in general. I mean, TV, movies, music, comics. I mean, it's a great time to be alive, but there's too much for, you can't be a fan of everything. There's too much.
Right. Yeah. And, Phil, we had that great discussion. I will be self-serving, where we talked about our nerd blind spots.
Yes.
And I have recorded Blade Runner, the director's cut, on my DVR so that I can watch it before I go see the new movie, because the reviews about the new movie are amazing. In fact, a couple of people, and I realize it's the internet, so people could lie, but a couple of critics said this might be the best movie of the year so far. So I hope it's going to be good, but I've never seen the original. Just it's a, as we talked about in this podcast, it is a nerd blind spot. And
the critics, Charles said, I saw Charles say it.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Let's give a shout out to my partner in time, Charles Skaggs. Yes. It is, and you have to accept that. You have to accept the fact that you can't see everything. And you also have to rely on your network of friends, and especially the online community, where, Phil, you or Charlie might say, oh, man, this Lazarus comic, it's something pretty cool, Jesse. You probably want to check it out. Okay, I'll go check it out because these people respect, versus in the past, when I had a little more disposable income and there wasn't as many, I'd go to the local comic shop, or even further back, the spinner rack at the drugstore, grocery store, and I'm like picking anything I find because I could. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, I've heard all those good, a lot of good reviews for the new Blade Runner.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Finally, something Harrison Ford can't crash.
Oh, I love that. Very nice. So what else did I miss?
We were talking Star Trek. We were talking Marvel Comics. The Gifted. Have you watched The Gifted?
It's on the DVR. I'm hoping to catch up on that today. Is it good?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it's only one episode so far, but yeah, it was good.
What did you guys think of Inhumans? Charles and I talked about it, and it'll be on, I guess, up shortly. Did I step in a landmine? A bear trap?
Charlie's doing an hour at 4:00 on Eastern on this, but Charlie, you want to give a quick synopsis?
It's bad.
Tease us.
It's bad, and the reason, and I realized why it's bad today. There is it does not feel like a Marvel property. It's because I realized it is written with a rather misogynistic point of view.
Okay.
And this isn't to say that Marvel is like this feminist icon. Characters in most Marvel films, sexualized characters who have their own lives and agendas. Whereas all the female characters in this literally are just there to be either victims or to serve the narrative of the male characters who are not that interested. And it is this problem that they took who are the most interesting characters in the Inhumans, which is Medusa and Crystal, to this damsel in distress role that does not fit them, and the other characters in the Inhumans just aren't strong enough characters to carry the story forward. So that's my basic feeling 3 episodes in. And it's like the more I watch it, the less I like it. So
all right, that'll be a fun discussion coming up at 4:00.